Sure. Matthew Lee, Intercity Press. Thanks a lot for this. Too humanitarian, but I just wanted to know: do you know if Daesh is able to pay salaries to its fighters in the areas that you mentioned, Western Mosul, Tal Afar? I don't know if you would know that, but I'd like to ask you that. And then the other one has to do with the bridges. It was said initially that they were being hit by airstrikes. Now there's that Daesh has blown 2 of them up. What's the condition of the actual bridges, the bridges across, and any plan to rebuild them? And what was the sort of breakdown of who destroyed them? And on something like garbage disposal, what's the status of like moving, because people can get disease, sort of the reintroduction of services to the areas that have been liberated? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good questions. We don't know whether or not Daesh is still paying its soldiers. We understand that they are struggling to do so and may have stopped. But, Matthew, that's anecdotal. Okay, so we don't really know. But we understand that there are serious problems. They're in serious financial trouble. We also, on the issue of the bridges, the coalition forces and the Iraqi security forces, there are 5 bridges across from the east to the west. 4 of those have been down now for months. Only 1 bridge can take heavy traffic across it. So when Daesh is reporting that it's destroyed bridges, there is, of course, a second subsidiary river that goes through the eastern section. So, here's the east-west, and then on the east, there's a subsidiary river. Maybe they're referring to those bridges. We've seen the same report saying that they've destroyed them. Well, they're not the main bridges because those were taken out by the Iraqi security forces and the coalition a long time ago. Only 1 was left for mostly civilian traffic, not heavy traffic. We understand, however, that as the military operation is now moving toward the west, the intention is to reinforce that 1 existing bridge so that it can take heavy traffic across. I don't know whether that has occurred yet, but we've been briefed that that is the intention. You're right to point out that garbage, obviously lead to widespread public health problems and becomes a vector for waterborne and other diseases. In terms of garbage collection inside of the West, it's not something which the key informants mention to us very often, but it doesn't mean that it's not a problem. We just don't have sight on it. In the newly retaken areas, so the areas that are now under the control of the Iraqi security forces, I think a number of the families have expressed frustration that it's taking a while to get the services going, to get the water back on, to get the sewage moving, to get the electricity grid functioning, to make sure that the public food distribution system is happening. The expectations of the populations was that this was going to occur very quickly. And because the Iraqi security forces have retaken these areas, but you haven't yet had a full-scale re-engagement by the civilian parts of the government, you call up civilians and you're in a retaken area and you say, so how is it? And they're saying, when are the services going to start? And this is well understood by the Iraqi government. This frustration is well understood by the UN and the coalition. On the UN side, the United Nations Development Program has a very special funding facility for stabilization. We move into newly liberated areas as soon as the security forces say that we can, say that they're safe, and we work very quickly to reestablish the grids, the sewage grids, the electricity grids, the water grids, and the transport grids. We are operational. UNDP is in, out of the liberated districts, probably a quarter of them we've been allowed back into to start getting the grids going. But again, if you're a family and you're inside of these areas and you're in one of the places that we haven't been allowed to come in and start working, you're pretty frustrated.